Good morning, Dana here. This morning I want to talk a little bit about a way that we can reach in and care for one another. On the news recently, and in a number of conversations with faith leaders around Alberta, it is clear that many people right now are thinking about suicide and dying by suicide, which means that many people are impacted by suicide. This is a hard subject and can be hard for us to engage in, but it is really important because our faith communities and our cities and counties and workplaces are not immune to this. We all know that life can be really hard sometimes. There are so many things that go on, especially right now with COVID, but that's on top. COVID is on top of all of the regular things that we were already and still do experience. We know that there are many different things that lead us to think about suicide or to attempt suicide or to want to end our lives. Suicide is incredibly complex and it is not something that we will easily understand. And that's okay because suicide is preventable and there is help that is available. I think it's really important for us as a Christian community to talk about this because often in Christian communities there is a stigma and a shame that exists in seeking help for mental health and for suicide. It's really hard for us to talk about these things, and I find that really sad because one of the things that we learn in Scripture, especially in the Psalms are a book of prayers, and if you look closely, almost every human emotion is expressed in there, from thanks and praise and joy and hallelujahs and excitement and celebration, all the way to anger and frustration and anxiety and feelings of overwhelm or wishing that life would be no more. There are all of these emotions, and what we learn is that that we learn two things from that. The first is that the world must be experienced as it really is. Sometimes we like to pretend that life isn't hard or that life isn't a struggle, but the Psalms invite us to experience life as it really is. And the second thing we learn from the Psalms is that all emotions, even dark and difficult and painful things, are proper subjects to talk to and with God about. Anything that happens in our heart is allowable. Nothing is excluded. Nothing will shock God. And if that is the case, we are invited to bring all of this to God. And if we can bring it to God, we should and could, and it is good for us to bring that conversation also into the Christian community. And this is why I think it's really important for us to talk about suicide and mental health as a Christian community. So the first thing I want to say is this. If you are someone in the Woodinook community, in the Lacombe County, or you are listening to this even further abroad, and you are somebody who is considering ending your life, if you are having thoughts of suicide, I encourage you and invite you to seek help. Reach out. I am committed to listening to you without judgment and to seeking the help that you need, helping you find that help that you need. You can talk with Chad. You can reach out to any of the numbers, the mental health crisis lines that are available to you, and I will post those in our stories and below. But please seek help. You are not alone, and we desire to walk with you in that. So seek out a trusted friend or someone that loves you, or a crisis hotline, or myself. The second thing is this. As a person in the community who may not be thinking about suicide, if that is you, if you are not thinking about ending your life, I invite you to educate yourself on what suicide is and how to help, because these sorts of things are really important, especially now as many people are struggling. We all know that we like to hide that we are struggling. And so the first piece of seeking to help of caring for others is to pay attention. We all know that somebody might ask you that you're fine and or ask you how you are and you'll say, oh, I'm fine, don't worry about me. It's just another normal day, I'm dealing with it. But really deep down, all we need is a hug or somebody to listen to us. And so pay attention to what people are doing, especially if your friend is acting differently or your loved one or your coworker is acting differently. That might be something to bring up in conversation. How are you really doing? Pay attention to your friends or your family who might be losing interest in hobbies or activities that they normally enjoy. If they're giving away items that they value, if they're disconnecting from friends or family, if there's a change in sleeping or eating patterns, if they're drinking alcohol or taking drugs more than is normal for them, if they're incredibly irritable or angry, if they're taking risks or suppressing their emotions. And sometimes even people will actually come out and say that they are hopeless or that they are thinking about dying. And if those sorts of things are happening, the second step is to initiate a conversation. Just have a conversation. Listen to what is going on without judgment. There's no need to try and fix or to solve the problem. Just take what they're saying seriously. And you can ask directly, are you thinking about ending your life? Especially because this kind of conversation is so hard. In many ways, they might be relieved that you are asking that question. So you may ask, are you thinking about ending your life? This doesn't mean that they will then do it, but maybe that they will seek help as a result of your question. And the fourth thing is that if they are struggling in this way, help them get the help they need. There are plenty of things, and I'll post them in our stories. And so just reach out and do that. We are all looking out for each other. We are told to suffer with those who suffer and rejoice with those who rejoice, and to bring all of the difficulties of our lives into the presence of God. And so I just invite you and encourage you to pay attention and to keep your eyes open and to have these conversations, because they're really important and an important way of caring for those around us. May you have all the grace and peace and courage and connection that you need in order to live this day.